today's video, I'm going to tell you 7 things that you need to know about studying in Australia. This video will cover general information about required documents, fees and scholarships, part-time jobs, dependent visa, and post-study options in Australia. Before moving on to today's video, I would like to thank each of you who have liked, commented, subscribed, or interacted with this channel in any other way. We are growing day by day and hope to reach 500 subscribers soon. Now let's move to the video. If you are going to study bachelor's in Australia, you need to have your academic documents from school and high school ready. Similarly, if you are planning to study masters, you need to have your academic documents from school level to bachelor's level. If these documents are not in English, they should be translated and notarized. There is a common question when it comes to study in Australia. Not only study in Australia, but study abroad as a whole. How much grade do I need to get admission offer? There is no specific answer to this question. The grade requirements depend on the university and the course you are planning to apply to. However, if I really have to tell you the required grade, then I would say if you have 60 or more than 60%, then you will be eligible to apply to many universities. One thing I would like to add here is, if you have study gap, do not get stressed. Just explain clearly in your SOP why you had gap years and what did you do during that gap years. Another required document is an English language test. Australian universities accept IELTS, PTE, TOEFL, and other various language tests. When it comes to score requirements, I have seen people with as low score as 5.5 getting admission offers and people getting rejected with 6.5. So it completely depends on a program requirements. Now let's talk about how you can finance your study in Australia. To make it easier for you to understand, I would divide financial documents into 3 different parts: bank balance, property evaluation, and yearly income. Regarding bank balance requirement, it highly depends on your tuition fees and the amount you need to pay in advance to your college. On an average, you will be needing around 40,000 AUD. This will cover your 1-year tuition fees and living expense in Australia. If you do not have saving, you can also apply for an educational loan. It is not enough that you have 40,000 Australian dollar in your bank. You also need to show the source of this money. You can also show your property, land, and other assets as the backup documents to justify that you have 40,000 AUD in saving. Usually, your parents can sponsor you. In this case, you need to prepare a relationship certificate as well. To know more about the required documents, you can go to www.immi.homeaffairs.com and can use document checklist tool. Just select your country, you will get the list of all the required documents. Australia offers diploma, bachelor, master's, and PhD level courses to international students. For most of the international students, a diploma course is a viable option as tuition fees are cheaper for diploma courses compared to bachelor. You will be paying around 6,000 AUD per year for diploma courses. If you go to some of the expensive colleges, you will be paying 8 to 10,000 Australian dollars per semester for diploma courses. If you are going to study a bachelor's degree in Australia in college, you will be paying 7 to 10,000 Australian dollar per semester. Remember that colleges are cheaper in Australia compared to universities. In university, you'll be paying around 10 to 15,000 Australian dollar per semester for bachelor's degree. If you are going to study masters at college, you will be paying around 7 to 10,000 Australian dollar per semester. At university, you'll be paying 12,000 to 18,000 Australian dollar. The fee range can vary based on what subject you are taking. You will be paying fees on a per subject basis, so your selection of the subjects determine your tuition fees. One thing you also need to understand is that your tuition fees increase every year by certain percentage, so be prepared for that as well. Universities and colleges in Australia are more expensive than European countries. This is why many international students changes their education institution and move to cheaper universities after their arrival in Australia. There are certain requirements that you need to fulfill to change your educational institution. Now let's talk about scholarship. There are various types of scholarships in Australia. We can divide this scholarship in 2. One is given by the government and another is given by the university. Most of the scholarships provided by universities are merit-based. Depending on your academic grade and IELTS scores, you may get a certain percentage of scholarship from the university. For example, Central Queensland University gives 20% scholarship to those students who have distinction in their bachelor degree and 7 in IELTS. Similarly, many other universities have scholarship programs, so just check their website to find the requirements. Talking about government scholarship, there are various popular government scholarships such as Destination Australia program, Research Training program, and Australian Award. The requirements for government scholarships are very high, so you really need to have a very strong academic profile to get one. Now let's talk about universities in Australia. There are around 43 universities in Australia. Some of the top choices for international students are Central Queensland University and Macquarie University, which are popular for accounting courses. Similarly, University of Technology Sydney comes on the top choice for international students for IT courses. For nursing study, University of Wollongong comes on the top choice for international students. When there are so many different choices, you may get overwhelmed by these choices. It can be a daunting task to communicate with all these universities. Now I'm going to tell you about one really useful platform. Are you overwhelmed by study option? Do not stress, there is an easy way. With StudyMe, the possibilities will find you. StudyMe is a platform that connects students with top universities around the world. It helps you to find the best fit university for you. It is quick, simple, and totally free. Here is how it works. First, you create a profile, add your interests, academics, and career aspiration. Then university get an alert to review your details. Interested universities will get in touch to introduce themselves. If you like what you hear, you can accept their invitation to chat. You will talk directly with the university staff members, getting personal advice on the things that matter to you. Ask them what it is like to study there and the admission process. If the university thinks you are a good fit, then you will get an invitation to apply. You can apply with confidence knowing you are very likely to be accepted. Do not leave it to chance. Join StudyMe and be discovered by the best universities in the world. I would like to thank StudyMe for sponsoring today's video. You can use the link in the description below to sign up for StudyMe for absolutely free. Talking about earning and expenses, it really differs from person to person. So, for today's video, I'll be talking on average number. Student can work 40 hours a fortnight, which is 20 hours a week. Housekeeping, cleaning, waiter, delivery boy are the easily available jobs for international students. You may also get the office job if you have the required skill and experience. Payments are based on various factors. Your per hour wage depends on factors such as what type of job you are doing. Is it a weekday job or a weekend job? Day shift or night shift? So it is hard to tell you the exact figure, but on an average we can say that 20 Australian dollar is per hour wage in Australia. Student will earn around 400 to 500 Australian dollar per week from their part-time jobs. To know more about the wage rate in Australia, you can visit www.fairwork.gov.au. I have also seen that many of us are looking for more opportunities to work and try work under the table. I highly discourage this as it is very risky and you can get into trouble anytime. Okay, so you have income. Now how much tax you gonna pay? In Australia, you have an income of less than 18,200 Australian dollar, you do not need to pay any tax. If you earn between 18,200 Australian dollar and 45,000 Australian dollar, you will be paying 19 cents for each $1 over 18,200 Australian dollar. You can just look at this table to know the tax table of Australia. Now let's talk about expenses. I'm not sure if you will be happy if I say this, but this also completely depends on your lifestyle. However, for the purpose of this video, I will give you some average number. On an average, your per week expense look like this. If you live in a shared room, your rent will be around 150 Australian dollar. Grocery will be around 50 Australian dollar. On transportation, you will be spending around 50 Australian dollar and your weekly phone expenses will be around 25 Australian dollar. Similarly, you will be paying around 15 to 20 Australian dollar per week for electricity, gas and internet. So, if you have a minimalistic lifestyle, approximately 250 Australian dollar per week will be enough to cover your living expense. While you are applying for a student visa, you can also file the application for your spouse. You can also invite your spouse while you are studying in Australia, whether it be a student visa or a dependent visa. The visa commissioner evaluates the visa application based on the probability of student and their spouse returning to their home country after the completion of their study. This is called GTE assessment, that is Genuine Temporary Entrant Assessment. If you are planning to take your spouse with you, you need to inform the university about it. To take your spouse with you, you need to have around 55,000 Australian dollar as a bank balance, which will cover your 1-year tuition fees and living expense for you both. When you are applying together from your home country, you will get the decision at the same time. Another scenario is if a student is already in Australia and the student wants to invite his or her spouse. It is really important that the student who is already in Australia has maintained his study and has not broken any rules in Australia. Another thing you need to understand is that there is a difference in working rights for your spouse based on which level you are studying. If you are studying at bachelor's level in Australia, your spouse can work 20 hours a week. If you are studying at a master's level or higher than that, your spouse can work 40 hours. Similarly, dependent visa holders can only take courses up to 3 months of duration. For the course with more than 3 months duration, you need to change your visa. Now let's talk about what are the options you are left with after you are done with your study in Australia. If you are done with a bachelor's in Australia, the obvious option is to join university or college for master's degree. Another option is to apply for temporary graduate visa, which is also called 485 visa. For this visa, you will need valid English language test score. If your IELTS or PTE score has expired, you need to write it again. You need at least 6 with minimum score of 5 for each of the 4 parts in your IELTS. Another requirement is you should have a recent qualification in CRI-COS registration course. In other words, you should have a degree which has been approved by Australian Department of Education. Based on whether you are living in regional area or not, you can work on a temporary graduate visa for up to 4 years. You can visit the websites on below to get more information about the requirements. Earlier, the minimum period of time you can be in a temporary graduate visa was 2 years. It was increased to 4 years in recent changes. You can work full-time during temporary graduate visa. Third option is to get your skills assessed and work in a relevant field. The job you are taking must be a skilled occupation list in Australia. This list is also different from region to region, so you need to be aware of it. After getting your skill assessed and working as a skilled worker for 1 to 2 years, you will be eligible to apply for permanent residency. There are other various criteria for PR, but let's not go into details in this video. I received one very useful tip from one of my friends living in Australia, and I would like to share it with you. If you are aiming to settle down in Australia permanently, do not focus on what kind of subjects have high demand in Australia at the moment. Focus on what kind of job will be high demand in 2 to 3 years from now. If some jobs have high demand now, it may not be the same after 2 to 3 years when you graduate. So you need to be smart on these things. One example that my friend gave me was, few years back, it was easy for accounting graduates to get permanent residency. Now things have changed, and these days, it is really hard for accounting graduates to settle down permanently in Australia. I hope today's video was helpful. If so, please do not hesitate to subscribe to this channel. I'll come up with a new video next week. Until then, take care, stay safe, bye-bye.